Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alexa and Friends. My name is Jeff Blankenberg, and today we have one of our Alexa champions, João Alquéres, joining us. Thank you so much for being here, João.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. Thanks for your effort in spelling my first name.
No problem at all. I think everybody should have their name pronounced properly, and a lot of that has to do with my own last name. You would think that Blankenberg is pretty easy, but the number of people that cannot pronounce my name is very large. And so I always appreciate it when people get my name right. Anyway, what we are going to do this morning is get to know you a little bit. And one of the things that I like to do as we start these conversations is to ask what I call a couple of silly questions. And so the first one that I'd like to ask you relates to superpowers. I often am interested in what people feel they would best benefit from if they got a superpower of their own. And so we've seen lots and lots of movies lately that have included superpowers in them. I'm always curious for all of my guests, if you got to pick any single superpower for yourself, what would you pick?
I think I would pick discipline. Yeah,
right.
It looks like a superpower, at least for me, because I'm pretty much driven by creativity and impulse and strength and things that come and go fast from my mind. And I would really love to have a more, discipline to do things a little more, slower. And I think that would benefit me to have a
discipline. All right, I can see that. I often feel that a lot of that impulsivity, though, is instinct. And oftentimes, if you're drawn to something, there's a reason it's pulling you away from something else. And so, discipline is good. I think that being able to start a task and finish a task is really good. But I don't know that I would 100% agree with you on that superpower, at least for myself. I like being able to be drawn in 100 different directions, and I tend to chase the shiny object too. So I can appreciate that. I think all of us would feel better about ourselves if we felt like we were more productive or more focused. Little side note, I stopped drinking caffeine this week.
No.
And I do not feel focused, even in the slightest. Have a lot of sleepy just sitting on top of my head, but that's okay. We'll power through. We'll get there. In the meantime,
it's going to take a while until it gets out of your system. I have tried a couple of times. It's pretty hard to leave caffeine.
Yeah, it definitely is a challenge, and it's not just caffeine. I'm cutting sugar and flour and a bunch of other stuff out of my diet, and so the first week or so is pretty sleepy, for sure. Anyway. So discipline is the superpower that you would pick. I think that's excellent. The other question that I'd like to ask you revolves around a little story that I need to tell you first. So I want you to imagine you're in a very large city. I was actually down in Sao Paulo last year, I think. That's a big city. And I want you to imagine you have these big city blocks, big tall buildings, and you need to get from one street to the street that's next to it. And in order to do so, you notice that you could either walk all the way around the city block, or you could cut through an alley that you see that's available. It's a brightly lit day. Everything looks very safe. And so you decide to go down this alley. As you get about halfway down the alley, you notice at the end that you're heading towards emerges a giant horse-sized duck, just a really large duck, right? And as any smart person would do, you turn around and say, no, thank you, I'm going the other way. You find that end has been closed in by 100 tiny horses, duck-sized horses. Now, in either case, you're probably going to have a battle on your hands. So I'm curious to know, if you had to pick one, which end would you head towards?
I think I would like to battle the horses because since I am 7.4 feet high, I think I would be in great benefit from trying to go over the horses.
Oh my goodness! Did you say you're over 7 feet tall?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I had no idea. You see people sitting in a chair. You are a very tall person. Wow! I had no idea. Well, I can't wait to meet you in person.
Next time you come here, let me know.
That would be great. 7'4". My goodness. Well, yeah, I would think getting over some ducks would, or some small horses would be pretty easy for you.
I think it's 196. I think 196, 1 meter and 96 centimeters. I'm not sure that's 7.4. Perhaps I got that wrong, but it's 2 meters anyway. 2 meter. Alexa,
Yeah. Alexa, how long is 2 meters in feet?
2 meters is about 6 feet 7 inches.
6 feet 7. That's still a very
6 feet
tall
7.
person.
Yeah, 6 7.
If you were 7'4",
It's
you
larger than Shaquille O'Neal, right?
yes, you would be in the National Basketball League.
Yeah.
For sure. That's
I tried to play basketball, but
But
not
6'7"
that.
is still something to be noticed for sure. Okay, so you've decided you can just step over or navigate your way through 100 tiny horses. I think at your size that's probably pretty reasonable. I am not that tall. I'm only about 6 foot, a little shorter than 6 foot actually. But all of us, there's a joke that anybody that says they're 6 feet is probably 5'7", because if you're 5'7", that's almost 5'8", and if you're 5'8", like that's not that far from 5'10", and no one's gonna say they're 5'10", they're gonna say they're 6 feet tall. So
Yeah.
I'm 6 feet tall. Why not? I'm not really though. In real life, I'm 5'11" on a good day. All right, so thank you for entertaining me with the silly questions. The things that I'd like to know now relate to who you are and how you got to where you are today. So I imagine in your entire career, you've not been involved in voice your entire career. So what I'd love to hear is as far back as you want to go. I'd love to hear about your education, where you went to school, where you grew up. I mean, I know you're from Brazil, but the audience may not know that. So let's take the journey here, where you went to school, some of the jobs that you've had along the way. Give me the whole story. I'd love to hear it.
That's great. So I'm João Paulo from Brazil. I am originally from Rio de Janeiro, and I moved to São Paulo about 10 years ago. And but on my academic background, I was involved with computer science. I really took a long term in university, staying more than 10 years in university, trying to get out, but end up well in the end. But the first part of my career was in consulting. I worked for Accenture for about 10 years, and then another big consultancy firm here in Brazil for other 4 years. So it was a total of 14 years in consultancy, working in systems implementation.
Okay.
And the funny part is that because of that discipline thing, my mind tends of wander too much, and I never had the same job twice. So after doing consultancy, I went to education, and I had an opportunity as a dean of an university
Oh wow.
here in São Paulo for 4 years. And then when I left the university, I worked in a mental health startup for about a year, and then I end up with voice about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I only discovered voice. It's something really new for me. I started 2 years ago doing gigs on Fiverr, doing freelance gigs for voice to discover it, the
Wow.
industry. Alexa just came here to Brazil, and I started doing gigs on Fiverr to try to discover the technology.
Cool. A lot of big money on Fiverr. Were you making a fortune?
It's called Fiverr for a reason, so I wouldn't call it big money, but I think it got me where I am now. So it's really a good start to take people that are interested in a skill set, and people that are interested in train that skill set. So it worked a lot for me to get paid from the beginning with that, so I can get a glimpse of how much people would pay for that knowledge. And I started from there doing more and more gigs, and it come to a point that it was justifiable to start a company to doing this for other companies, stop doing for individuals and start doing for other companies. So this is when I opened it, Iara Digital. And just a side note, Iara is a folklore here in Brazil, Tupi Guarani folklore about a mermaid that enchants people and takes them to the back of to the deep to the bottom of the river.
Oh,
So we thought of that enchanted thing. It would fit. It was a name that was suggested by my wife. It was a family business from the beginning, and I started it and about 1 year and a half ago. And today we have 12 employees. All of them work from home. I never met my partners in this business.
wow.
A great part of my employees, I never met them. We're gonna meet in the end of the year. Now we're gonna make a barbecue here in São Paulo, but we are working for more than a year without ever meeting in person. So it's
That's
pretty,
amazing.
yeah.
So I know you said you did 14 years in a consultancy at Accenture, and you said you had a bunch of different jobs while you were inside. I'm curious, were there were there any lessons that you learned as part of your consulting life that translates to how you're running your business today?
I think Accenture is a great school. I would greatly advise for my kids to work there because such a great school for problem resolution and resilience.
Yeah.
There was never one project that I was in, and the projects there tend to have the duration of 6 to 8 months. There was not one project that was similar to the other one I was in the last experience. So it's a very changing environment, changing all the time, and demands for resolution, for analytical resolution. So I deep dive my learning in Excel. When I was there, I got all the knowledge a consultant can get on spreadsheets. I got from there, and I think if it's something that I can take it as the biggest learning I had from there is that to tend to organize the thinking to resolve issues that are very big in a procedural way, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very valuable lesson, and that's something that I've heard about a lot of the consultancies, right? Between Accenture and Deloitte and a number of the others, a lot of those lessons come through in most of their employees. That's something that they really teach quite well in those organizations. So, what was I know you said you kind of stumbled your way into voice, and it was kind of something that you discovered. I'd love to know what that story looked like. Like, what was it? Did you have an echo, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to build stuff for this, or how did you find Alexa or voice, and how did that become something you decided you want to go deeper on?
Well, I had no idea that I wanted voice. I was with 42 or 41 years old and trying to relocate. I just got out of the university. I was trying to relocate in education, and I really had no idea what I would do next. My wife was pregnant of our twin kids, so I have three kids, and so it was an environment that I just had to, to take matters in my own hands. So I saw the opportunity in the arrival of this technology in Brazil, and I knew that this technology was booming outside Brazil, and I really started working for companies and people outside Brazil. So it was a matter of the opportunity that I had to take matters in my own hand, and
Sure.
I always programmed, so I knew that this was something I could do. But it's funny that in the beginning I tried to go over the tutorials on the cakewalk and anything, and I was always a lazy JavaScript programmer with using everything from the Stack Overflow to anyone who's programming know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
And but I struggled a little with Node and trying to translate everything I knew from JavaScript to Node and end up with VoiceFlow. So VoiceFlow helped me a lot to realize everything I had to realize to get my Fiverr gigs going. So it helped me a lot because it's low code, and I could code and still be step ahead of people that was using voice flow and didn't code. So that allowed me to deliver a lot of projects, and I did about 100 skills in this past 1 year and a half.
Wow.
If you put them all together, so
That's incredible. And I want to go back to your point about being a lazy JavaScript programmer. I will tell you that even the most senior JavaScript developers are looking for answers on Stack Overflow, and pulling code from npm and things like that. That's a natural extension of being a developer. And I would almost argue that the junior developer is the one that tries to avoid Stack Overflow because they feel like they should have to know how to do it all themselves. I actually saw a funny story. A husband's his wife was a graphic designer, but she needed to learn some C++ for a small project they were working on. And so she was taking this class at the university nearby. And as she was taking this class, her husband was impressed that she was just figuring all of this stuff out. And he goes, "You're really picking this stuff up fast. How are you doing this?" And she goes, "I have to tell you, I'm cheating. I go online and I Google for the answers that I need, and then I use what I find to solve my problems." And he's a programmer himself, and he was like, "Do I tell her? No, that's how we all do our job."
it's like modus operandi for programmers, right?
I think as you get more senior, you understand how to look at something and realize whether or not it's useful or whether or not it's valuable. And where juniors are pulling other code that they found places, sometimes they don't always know what it does, and they have to do a little bit more experimentation. But I think that's all valuable.
Yeah, and one thing is to do an ERP or a content managed system, and the other thing is to make a skill to to read funny jokes. So it's two types of programming, and I think that it helps a lot to have resources. If someone think about the Levenstein distance algorithm in the past, why do I have to rewrite it if I can
Sure.
just download it and put it on my code. But another thing that I wanted to talk about Fiverr, and it really made a difference for me, is that I really began there with doing skills for a really low price, and just because I wanted to learn. And looking today at that time, it was not a distant time. It's about 2 years ago, and it was the right thing to do because it got me a lot of work, and it got me a lot of different lenses to look at the how to develop Alexa skills, and how to look at it as a sound engineering problem, or as a programming problem,
Yeah.
or as a natural language problem. So it gives me all of these different angles, and I don't think I could be exposed to that if I wanted to work for the amount I thought people should be paying me that time. So
Good. Yeah. So sometimes it's worth it to take less money to get the exposure or the opportunities that you need. Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting. All right. So one of the other things that you have talked about is that you kind of heard about Alexa and you thought that this was something that you'd seen be successful other places. I'm always curious, especially being an employee on the Alexa team, and I focus a lot on a lot of our outbound messaging and emails that go out and our websites and things like that. Was there something that how did it come to your attention? Because there are lots of developers in Brazil, and
Yeah, I have
you
lots of friends that are from Amazon, and it I really just it when it I my history with Amazon comes a while ago. I'm a customer since 2006, if I'm not wrong. So I'm a customer for 15 years,
yeah,
and I followed the company for a long time. And as soon as Alexa was launched, I knew that it would come to Brazil eventually. So I was kind of waiting
got it.
for it to come. And so when and the industry in voice is very welcoming for people. It's different because I was flirting with the fact that I could go to mobile development, but mobile development is an industry that is so established, and people are you have all kind of boot camps and books to read, and everything to go and to do, and it seems like you have to go 5 years of books and courses and learning to crash in the mobile industry. So the voice industry seemed something that was more approachable. And not surprisingly, it has a lot of people that are my age and that have young kids. I was surprised to see that people that was transitioning for other industries going to the voice industry. So this was a great surprise.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. So you mentioned that you have your own voice agency now, and you said you have 12 employees, most of which you haven't met yet, which I think is just a fantastic story in itself. Before we get into what you guys are working on today, how did you find all of your employees if you've never met them? I mean, I'm assuming you probably had to have some kind of video call and you interviewed them and talked with them. But how do you go about starting an agency with a bunch of people that you've never met?
So this is funny. We took some challenges that Alexa promoted here in Brazil, and we were a group of developers that we won the challenges in the past, and we got together as a group, and then we won a voucher to take the certification, the AWS. I think the certification does not exist more.
It doesn't. Mine is still good. I'm still certified, but it
yeah,
is
me too.
expiring.
But we all got together in a WhatsApp group, and our friendship grew from there. And everyone that works with me is either from my consulting days, because I know that whoever worked with me in Accenture, I can call to do anything, to do from dirty jobs to whatever else.
Right.
But because consultants are very flexible, right? And they're either from the group, from the developers group, or from consultancy.
Wow.
So
That's cool. And so what are the kinds of projects you guys have already built? And then I'd love to hear about what you're building today.
it's funny, in Brazil we are in a different type of moment from United States. The voice devices are starting to boom here, but it's not as well as distributed as it is in the United States.
Sure.
And companies here are using it to promote their brands and to take part of the persona of Alexa, which is a high technology thing, conversational thing, personal. The brands are bringing this to their campaigns, and the kind of job that we have here is more focused on specific campaigns. So I had the opportunity to work with an agency to deliver a Kids Day interactive stories for Disney.
Oh,
I had the opportunity to work with the same agency to deliver the app for Domino's Pizza. But all of these I'm talking about apps that comes to the app store, and then about a month or 2 months later are taken out of the store. So
okay.
it's more like a campaign oriented thing. And recently, I had the opportunity to work with my agency to develop a game for the Jurassic Park franchise, which was I think that was the top of the year, and it's gonna be hard to top that next year. But I'm
Yep.
looking forward to it. And we developed a quiz game for the Jurassic World franchise.
Okay. Very fun. And so are you continuing on that same vein with some of these large big name projects like Domino's Pizza or Jurassic World?
Yes, I am. I have other clients I'm working with to develop high profile skills. But what we also looking at is products. I have been working with projects for a long time in the consultancy, and I think that Iara is going to be more centered around products. So we are trying to discover the next generation of voice products that people are going to use in Alexa. So like platforms.
Yeah.
right? So we have a platform that can fulfill payments because ISP is not available here in Brazil. So we are always thinking with what we can do, where we can go on the verge of being shut down, right? A friend says that if you don't have your lawyers involved in your ideas, is that it's not you're not trying hard enough.
It's good
So
advice.
yeah. So we have this payment fulfillment platform that we use for voice app. We have a notifications platform that we use with voice apps. We have a advertising platforms that we use with streaming audio voice skills,
Okay.
not with general skills. And we are always experimenting with that. We take the money that we make with projects and direct to either games or platform. Other thing that we do is games. I have a franchise of a choose your own adventure brand in here that we created, and we create weekly games stories for Alexa. And we just launched that other game, which is based on a word chain game that you have to, pick the last letters of the word and
Yeah.
play against Alexa. So
That's fun. Awesome. So do you prefer to work on the big Domino's Pizza style kinds of experiences, or do you prefer building games as an example?
I think games is what I think the relationship will be more disruptive for us. So we of course like both of the engagements. It's just different parts of the brain that are working in either one of them, right?
Right.
So when we are working with projects, we are obviously bringing everything we learn from delivery, from strategy to give the client a good strategy, a good voice strategy. When we are working with games, I'm working with creatives to see what a voice game should look like. We always try hard not to pick up something that works, like Flappy Bird, and
Right.
brings Flappy Birds or Angry Birds to voice. So we always looking on how not to do that, to don't fall on that pitfall, and
Right.
do really innovative stuff.
Yeah, there are so many games out there that are so reliant on a visual element. And while you could build that for an Alexa device, it already is probably going to work far better on a mobile device, a
Exactly.
tablet, whatever. And so that, I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of people that try to chase something that's already established, something that's already been successful. But I think there are ways to get around that and to find things that do translate well, even if they're done in a totally different way. I'll give you a quick example. I am currently working on a skill. I've been working on this for probably a year and a half when I have time. But it's basically an entire casino, all with your voice. So it's designed specifically to communicate with audibly, right? So you're telling the dealer to give you another card in blackjack or to put your bet on red on the roulette or whatever. Um, but even like slot machines, where a normal slot machine, you watch each of the reels stop and you can see whether or not they matched. With your voice, you don't have that luxury, right? And so I've had to think hard about how do I represent slot machine reels turning and matching each other in a way that's only with sound. And so I've ended up using a bunch of really clever sound effects to represent each of the possible states of each reel. And so as you listen to it, if you hear the same sounds, then you realize you made a match. And if you match something, you probably won. So it's kind of fun to just listen through that experience, but it's all built entirely with voice and sound in mind rather than just another visual experience, right?
That's interesting, and that remembered me of a giant leap that I had from one thing that I imagined initially working with skills that was all about the back end and the code of the application. And sometime when I started, I'm not sure where when I did get that impression, but I discovered the world of sound design, and
Mhm.
how I should be focusing on sound design when working with Alexa skills. and since then I haven't stopped working on all of my skills alongside with sound designers to
Yeah,
to make the experience sound good, because it does make a world of difference
it
when
really
you
does.
when you have a great, and you don't rely we rely most of our skills rely on voice actors to to talk with the users about the choices they have in the game, and it makes a world of difference. So this is something that was in my mind it was not in my mind initially, and I bring that to the table, and it changed the way I look at voice apps.
Yeah, agreed. One of the other things that I'm doing is if you, I'm assuming you've probably been to a casino at some point in your life, but when you walk in and you play a game, if there's a dealer, it's a different person every time, right? You're never encountering the same individual every single time that you go into a casino. And so one of the things that I'm leaning into is the idea that when you come and talk to the blackjack dealer, as an example, it's going to be a different person. Sometimes they'll have an accent, sometimes they won't. I'm leaning into the poly voices to do this, but it allows me to give you this new experience every time. Hi, they introduce themselves. Hi, I'm Joao, and I'm going to be dealing blackjack for you today. And the next time it's a British woman, right? So it's kind of a fun way to go where you're having this immersive experience that's very similar to what you'd find in the real world.
Yes, and this variable reward system that the user never know what he's going to get when he comes back in the skill. I think it's a good trigger inducing for him to to open the app to see who is going to onboard him this time,
Exactly,
right?
exactly right. Well, that's a good transition then, because one of the other things that I want to talk with you about as we're here is kind of your view on the current state of voice technology. Now, I know you're in a position where you're in Brazil, and I certainly recognize that everything that's available, for example, in the United States, isn't all available in Brazil. So I'm very curious to get your perspective on the current state of voice technology in your world. What's missing? What's amazing? What do you love? What do you hate? That kind of stuff.
So I think that I love everything about what we have in voice right now, and the fact that we didn't fill the platform to begin with monetization options, because that way we can get the developers to the appropriate time, because if you put monetization early on, you would attract a lot of big players and disencourage small players to come. So I like that this is this approach of how it's being rolled out. The technology is being rolled out here in Brazil, that people are starting to use it for entertainment uh, every time. So talking about our industry here in Brazil, what I think I miss the most is the ability for us to be owners of our distribution, and be honest of our engagement in our apps. We rely too much on Amazon and on other platforms to how can I say, to promote the games, right? So I
Sure.
have games that have been able, because of the engagement they generate, have been able to be promoted. But what I like is the fact is that what I would like to see is the fact that I could take the matters on my own hand, and put this X amount of money, and I knew that this would translate in an X amount of players coming to my platform. And I think this is one of the things that I feel that could be better, and I'm gonna talk in a bit with you about what did I think to solve that retention and discoverability problem. But I really loved that it was talked by Alexa SVP about 2 weeks ago in the summit that happened. I think it was in Portugal. That
Okay.
Alexa would start to be more proactive, and that really got me interested about how this could mean a shift in the paradigm of programming for voice assistant. You do like how uh, what would look like an app that is proactive how would you program an app that is proactive for a voice assistant?
Right.
So I started thinking about that, and it's mind blowing. So this makes me very interested about the near future on how this industry is gonna change this shift. Because if you take a look in the past, when you had the change from desktop computers to the internet, you had a change in the shift of how programming worked, and you have another one when you have the shift from the internet to the apps. You have a shift in programming, and
Mhm.
what we have today is that all voice apps basically emulates how apps are done for the mobile, but
Right.
they are different in the core. Natural language apps are different in the core. So I think this is something very interesting, and I'm looking forward to see how the industry is gonna develop.
Yeah, I am too. I spend a lot of time thinking about this exact problem, honestly. And the idea of proactivity is really exciting to me because I always come back to the idea that Alexa or voice assistants in general could do such a better job of being more like a human assistant. I imagine, let's say I'm not, but let's pretend for a moment that I'm a very wealthy person and I have a personal assistant
You
that
must be wealthy. Look at the background. So many invested
hardly,
in
hardly.
Funkyo.
These are very inexpensive toys. Um, but as we think about having a real human assistant, there are so many things that they take care of a lot of their personal life, right? Maybe it's picking up things or delivering things to certain places. You always hear about people like picking up their laundry or groceries. Also know a great deal about you as an individual. So when you say, "Can you please get me a coffee?" to your assistant, they know what kind of coffee you like from which store, and they can order that for you. And those are the kinds of proactive experiences that I'm really excited about. And it goes beyond that. I've talked about this on here before, but things like an appointment with your dentist. Today, you have to call and make an appointment or reschedule one that was already made, and it's a lot of back and forth and work to and time and stress to make sure that you have that scheduled properly. But realistically, if a system, a digital assistant had access to your dentist calendar and your calendar and potentially your healthcare provider's information, it could do it for you, right? It could proactively schedule your dentist appointment for you and say, "Hey, based on your calendar, based on what I know about you as a person, I scheduled it for 8 o'clock in the morning. It's right after your kids have gone to school. It seems like a perfect time before work to go to the dentist." Like that kind of stuff is magic, and we're just
Yeah. And it's easy if you think about it. You have to model the technology around how parents do with their kids, right? So you
right.
have to go to the dentist, you have to go to the school. So I think this is kind of funny to think about, because what we are asking for is a voice assistant that will behave just as our our parents, right?
Right. Yeah, in many ways, I want it to look out for me. I want it to recognize that we're out of milk and either order it for me or alert me while I'm on my way home from work that, hey, we need to pick up some more milk, right? Like
And
those
even
kinds
check
of
in for mental health or in anything related,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's a bunch of folks that are working on interesting things, not directly on Alexa, but in the voice world, looking at being able to just monitor the tone of your voice. You can actually recognize several different diseases just by listening to your voice, in addition to, like you described, mental health and a number of other emotional states. You can start to program empathy, right, to understand how to respond to someone appropriately based on their current emotional state. I think all of that is incredibly exciting and is in the not too distant future. It's not going to happen in the next 6 months, but it's
Yeah.
within the next 5 years. I would expect to see some very, very interesting advancements.
Yeah, and you were saying about the things I miss in Brazil, and I'm not sure. Do you have time to talk
Oh,
about
we have
this? Is
we have plenty of time. We have 20 minutes left if we want to use
Oh,
them all.
that's great. That's great. And so what I was seeing here is that I were going through the trouble of selling a project to a big client, and then people wouldn't come to visit the skill. So I would end up like calling, sending an email, trying to be featured on the front page to see if I could get a boost, and then these later become campaigns with influencers, and we saw that it was not it was really the amount of responses that we get was really proportionally of with the number of devices that are installed, right? So we were missing something that comes from the system itself. So
Right.
what we have thought about retention and discoverability, I have thought about looking at the question of the day model, or how they approach the point system, and it's a huge success, right?
Right.
So how people want to be tested on a daily basis, and people, and they have that streak thing, right? Because you have to go in a streak to always be there. And what we have thought about is a way of how we could bring to the users an incentive so they could try new experience, and they shouldn't be they couldn't be focused on only one voice experience. They could do a lot of experience. So we thought about a point system that would work across games, and then we started looking at the question of the day and started looking at blockchain, because we have all kinds of games that are using this technology today to do something that's really transparent and future proof.
Sure.
And we've created this platform that game developers can put their game there, and it works with games in Brazil and games in United States and games in India. So they just subscribe their game there, and whenever players load their games, they start earning these social tokens, and they can if they're playing my game or your game, doesn't matter, they earn that social tokens. And it
Right.
has this kind of network effect, because uh, if I play games that give me social tokens, I would like to play other games that use social tokens,
Hmm.
right? And it really grew in interest, and we got the sponsorship of VoiceBot. We are working with the bot coin, and so we started this platform, and we are in private beta to trying to see how it is gonna unveil it. But we really think that this is a great alternative to relying only on Amazon to distribute, to promote the
Sure.
games. We think that we can do this from inside the platform. So
Yeah, I
it's
like
bot bridge.
that. One of the other things that I've been really excited about is something that we announced at Alexa Live this year, which we refer to as Alexa for Apps Shortcuts. I don't know if you had a chance to play with this. I don't know if this is even released in Brazil yet, but the base idea is it allows you in your apps to allow a skill to be kicked off, and vice versa. So you can also talk to a skill and have something in your app happen. And I think that these kinds of connection points also make it very easy for people to be aware of and interact with your software, right? So if you already had a website or a mobile app, and you want people to be able to use your skill, you can simply have a button in your skill that says, fire this up, and it'll actually bring a drop down for them and say, hey, which of your Echo devices do you want to start this experience on? And it'll kick it off right on their device for them directly from a mobile app or a website or anything like that.
I
So
think
I
it
think that
makes total sense.
there's going to continue to be a number of ways, I think, for people to have more organic discovery by using the software they already use. Because I'm with you. I think that there needs to be more ways for people to find out what's going on and how they can play it. Because there's a tremendous number of amazing things to do on Alexa, but it requires people to really take some time to investigate and find those things on their own.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Exactly. We hope to bring this incentive that the people will get invested in it. One of the guys I'm talking to, they have a sleep sound app. So the idea of sleeping and accumulating social tokens while you sleep, just because you loaded the app, it's very interesting, right? Make
Yeah.
money while sleeping. So to make the points, right? The social coin. So we don't know, we are just trying, and this is just kind of the philosophy behind how I approach being in this industry, and what I like it about so much, because there's a huge playground to invent and to create things for. So it's a really a good place for invention, and I think this is really what I love the most about the voice industry as it is right now. And I bet the internet in 96, 97 was all about this, as well as
Right.
the app industry in 2007 and 2000, or 2008 was all about this. So I think as long as we have this, it's going to be an interesting place to stick around for, people who like to create.
Agreed. And that leads me to one of my last questions for you today, which is, I know I kind of briefly talked about the idea of 5 to 10 years from now, but what are the big advancements that you expect to see in 5 to 10 years that are different perhaps from what we're doing today?
Well, I think what I would really like to is that this turn taking thing of voice is kind of not natural for us, right? So I talk, you talk, people talk on top of others all the time.
Sure.
So I think this is one advancement that we are lacking, but I think it's only a matter of time, right? To have an agent that can be in the conversation with us and can act like a human, wait for their turn to talk, and know when to barge in, when to be silent, and to adapt, and to have a rapport with one people, or a group. So I think that with time and with the appropriate investment in the technology, I think it would go in that direction. So, and this can be like a warning for people that don't believe in the technology today, that because it's so transitional, it's used as this back and forth, it's a kind of unnatural to talking back and forth. But if people stick around, and more people use it, I'm sure that it's going to go to a way that it's going to feel more and more natural, because looking at the past, we can see how it evolves in that way from 2014, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. One other thing I like to ask people as we wrap up here is, how many voice-enabled devices do you have in your home today?
Well, I think I have about six of them. It's one
6.
Echo Dot 2, the old one, this disc or hockey puck,
Yeah.
and the Echo Show 5, Echo Show 8, Echo Dot 3, 2 Echo Dot 3, and I have the Echo on my TV too, which I think, by the way, is a great opportunity, a great hallway for the future, the voice interactions in TV.
Yeah.
I think this is another way for the future.
Agreed. And in that, are you counting? Do you have a watch that you can talk to?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a watch?
Oh no, I don't.
Okay.
I
But
was really longing for the earbuds, because I think the idea of having a voice inside your
yeah,
ear all the time, it must be very powerful. I was really longing for this when it's going to be launched here in Brazil. I'm going to be on the line to be one of the first
it is. The
users,
Echo Buds
because I
are
like the idea of
fantastic.
having it. I like the
The Echo
idea of
Buds are
having a voice.
fantastic. And actually, one of the other things that I might recommend you look into, I'm not a glasses wearer, but these,
The Echo Frames.
the Echo Frames. Have you had a chance to play with these?
No, I haven't.
I mean, I will tell you, especially for someone that does wear glasses like you, these are a magical experience. To be able to put, I'll put them on. To be able to put these on, you're not like earbuds plug your ears up, right? So you can't hear the rest of the world very well, but you can hear everything that's happening inside the earbuds well. These are neat because there's speakers just right above your ears, and so you're not interrupting the world. They don't hear what Alexa's saying, but you do, and it's different because you still are fully capable of hearing everything that's going on around you, but you have Alexa's voice right in your ear. They're different, and I really like them. I wish I wore glasses. I actually just ordered the sunglasses version of these to wear when I'm out wearing sunglasses. Now at least I'll have them on for that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think you can wait a little bit before you have the problems of the aging. Then you're gonna start using glasses.
Yeah, that's probably true. I am today I am 45 years old. I have not had to wear contacts or glasses to this point in my life, and I'm hoping
It's rare.
to make it to 50. But there are squinty moments in my life now where I'm like, what is that? What does that say? So I'm holding off as long as I can. Well, João, I want to thank you for being here today. This has been a really good conversation. I learned about you. I learned about your business, some of the skills that you're building. I think this has been fantastic. And I have a little treat for the folks that have stuck around. And I haven't shown this to you yet either, João. But I asked you earlier about the giant duck or the tiny horses. And as it turns out, that question has been asked all over the internet. And I wanted to show an example from the cast of Deadpool. They asked all of those people this exact question. So I'm just going to share this, and then we'll sign off here.
One horse-sized duck. I can keep my eye on the challenge.
Would you rather fight it, or would you rather have Deadpool fight it?
Oh, Deadpool for sure. He's a much better fighter than I am.
Yeah.
Definitely one horse-sized duck, but I don't think I would fight it even. I think I would probably like jump on and ride it. It's like all fluffy and cuddly. Seems like a good idea.
100%, 100 duck-sized horses. I'm terrified now by the thought of a duck the size of a horse. That's terrifying to me.
A nightmare of mine is being nibbled to death by ducks. So I would say 100 duck-sized horses. Yeah, what are they going to bite my ankles? I mean, that's about the worst that could happen.
Anyway, I just thought that was so funny to see, some famous people that we've all seen before answer that just same question. So, Joe, I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I hope we get a chance to see each other in person really soon.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Certainly. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again very soon.